Hey, this is Zac.
And I'm Clint, and we wanted to thank Exo-terra for sponsoring this episode of Colubrid and Colubroid Radio.
Exo-terra is the industry leader in glass terrarium enclosures, and we are a big fan of getting to see the species we work with both at home and at the university.
We utilize Exo-terra caging here at Metazotics, and in addition to top quality terrariums, Exo-terra offers an array of heating options, lighting, supplements, decor, and truthfully anything needed or wanted when keeping reptiles.
Thank you, Exo-terra, for supporting Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. This, of course, is a special episode because it is 48 hours post Colubridfest Round 2. We are back to our houses. Well, I'm in my house. Clint's in his second home, the shop. And we're coming down, but we already hit the ground running to work on next year. So tonight's episode or today's episode, whatever time of day it is that you're listening to this or watching it, we obviously are going to do our recap and give our thoughts on the things that went great. We're realists. You know that about us. We don't, we're doers, and doers are willing to take constructive criticism. And I don't want you to think, since I'm talking about this already, that it was bad. It was great. Yeah. It was absolutely wonderful. We just have a few tweaks that we have already met with Mickey actually earlier today, and we're hitting the ground running because it is our goal to make this a destination event. And we view this as an event. It is not panels. It is not a show. It is an event for us Colubrid keepers to basically build our community, and that's the goal with it. And I 100%. Think that we're on to something.
And, that's what we said there, too. That's the biggest explanation we tried to ensure everyone walked away with, is understanding that, CCR's goal, it's not Zac's goal to build a symposium. It's not Clint's goal to build an expo. It's CCR's goal to unite our community.
Yep.
And the symposium and the expo and the mixer and everything in between are all byproducts of getting that goal achieved.
Yeah. Yep. Because we know that the Colubrid community is special, and we want to do something special for the Colubrid community, and that's what we're up for. And I know after this weekend, we got more people that are drinking our secret sauce. So, and that's a good thing. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to give a couple updates just about what was going on in our lives before Colubridfest and what's gone on post. And then tonight's episode is a little atypical. We're going to roll the science update in when we discuss the day of all the talks, and we're going to roll the market update in when we discuss the show that happened on Sunday. And then we're going to obviously talk about everything else. So that being said, let's just talk a little bit about our pre-Colubridfest time. So I'll go first because mine was simple. I actually made a post about it. One word: PowerPoints. That was my week before. I just spent the entire time working on PowerPoints. I worked on my Kayla and I's PowerPoint. I worked on the award ceremony PowerPoint. Got everybody else's PowerPoint. Thank you all, my panelists, for sending those to me, and tried to, increase the professionalism a little bit this year. So they all had Colubridfest 2025 on them. And then I worked on getting us a much better camera. So last year we recorded everything on a DSLR. And this year I was sitting in my office. I called the grad students and was like, hey, Tyler, if you remember him from the show, if you went, and was like, where did we put the microphone for the camera? And he was like, I don't know. And I, of course, have no freaking clue where the microphone for the camera was. So I called our audio visual, that's hard to say, guy. And it basically asked, is there any way that we could actually borrow like a camera? I'm in a DSLR. And Jared Thompson's his name. Thank you, Jared. And Jared was like, well, I can't loan out anything from the school, but stop by my house. And so he gave us, for the weekend, his personal camera, which was pretty badass because he does weddings and things like that. And Max, one of the unsung heroes of Colubridfest, I got that thing and Jared showed it off to me, and I was like, I'm not going to remember any of this. And one of my personal favorite moments of Colubridfest, I don't think you were there, is that Max came up to get the camera, and I was like, "Here's the camera, bud." And he looked at me like, "That's not a DSLR." And my response was just like in the show, "I don't know how to use this. We got to figure it out in the next hour. Here you go." And he did. He completely did, because that's what Max does. So anyway, but yeah.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Max, for saving our ass yet again. So that was it, though. Like, I really have nothing else to say.
Side note, we got to meet Max's girlfriend for the first time.
Yes.
She was great. She helped out quite a bit too. So it was great meeting you. We want to give you a shout out as well for your help.
Yes. Thank you, Chris. That was great. You helping him the way, or helping me, and you know, but the spirit of Colubridfest was, it was present in all things. And then obviously I had to get the the awards acceptance speeches for the peeps that weren't going to be present. So I did that. So it was just basically just planning, gathering. And that was really it. And I want to give two shout outs right now. Nobody's going to hear them, but I'm going to give them anyway. So they're recorded for all of time. One shout out goes to West Liberty University. A lot of universities would look at this and be like, "I don't understand it. That's a you thing." And I do have to admit that my school, my president was in it to win it. He gets it. He understands that this helps to recruit. It would be disingenuous for me to say, like, they got to get something. They don't see the potential for them. But at the same time, you know, they had no issues with me filling out a travel request and kind of going on West Liberty's dime to get there. And doing all that. And then I also want to give a shout out to my absolutely wonderful wife, who said to me Sunday night, like, "Oh, so I get to see you again." I was like, and she doesn't say that to me when I go on like trips, because the like time I spent getting all this stuff ready before was just kind of, I didn't do this last year. And she was awesome. Both her and Colin, they just let me do my thing. I didn't get any grief for doing it. They understood this was an important, you know, thing, and they kind of see the vision too. So thanks, guys. That's all I have to say on that.
That's awesome. I'll tell you on my end, the week before was prep.
Yeah.
A lot of it was for the show for that day, because if we look at it as, I mean, if Metazotics is going to come and set up, we are going to want to give the best that we can give to any of the customers or buyers that are walking by. And we have show racks that we take with product, and we completely change them for Colubridfest, meaning I wasn't going to bring Pangea. I wasn't going to bring. So instead, we switched everything out to stuff that was going to be, Colubrid specific, and as well as some like Metazotics product. We took a lot of the Whitman boxes, the blacked out nest boxes. Those were very popular. A lot of those went home, and it's exciting to know those are going to be in that many more cages across the country. So that was really cool. But we did some of that, and I didn't do any of that. All I did was say, how many racks do we have, and then made a list of what I wanted on those racks. And then Anna, our floor leader, handled all of the rack change outs to make sure that we had that set and ready. What I personally had to work on that week before was a very important 2-week stretch in terms of babies becoming ready.
Yeah.
To be, put up for sale. And we're talking in that 2-week period, probably 150 new animals became ready. That's 150 baby colubrid pictures, 150 loaded into our POS system, so they then have an ID number. That's 150 labels generated, formatted properly, and all that for the deli cups. So that was a lot of what my work was. But then you also have Corey, who was having to make sure that all these got enough meals in them to be ready. Ox, I think Ox had one day off last week because he came over to the Chandler shop on Thursday and he helped Corey pack up these 200, something animals to ensure that we could bring as much of the diversity as possible. And that was a major, major help. But there's everybody else within the store, continued to keep everything running while, we had a lot to prep for. And it's in addition to that, you and I are on the phone a lot, me and Mickey, the three of us, there was a whole final, countdown. And it's like, oh, here's a hurdle. What do we do? Oh, here's a hurdle. What do we do? We were able to shake a lot of everything that we could fix prior to walking in. We did it. And then I think, honestly, and we'll talk about this as we go, any of the hurdles that occurred after we got there, I'm pretty proud of everyone involved. Several of the Show Me team, Blake, and he was one of the go-tos, big time, on that. And of course, Mickey. So, a couple just cool things in the shop. We have now hatched out Barron's racers for the first time.
Yeah.
So pretty stoked about that. Yep.
I strangely take slight credit for that because I'm the one that was like, hey, you need to buy these. I haven't done that to you many times, but that was one of the very few times I did.
Yep. And I listened. Yep.
Yes.
Got them. So that was cool. We just had those shed. They weren't ready before Colubridfest. They had shed while I was at Colubridfest. And so when we got back, we got those sexed out along with dozens and dozens of other things that had just shed. So that's pretty cool. On a side note, it was an interesting day in the shop today. We had our first ever dune gecko hatch out. This thing is barely bigger than a dime. It's freaking adorable. So that was cool. And then out of nowhere, someone brings in a fresh hatched snapping turtle. And I'm like, ooh, that's cool. It's just a neat little baby that they had just found. It's like, there's a pond across the street. Go put it back over there, So, again, neat stuff happening. And now, poor Corey. Oh, poor Corey. So, we did well. We sold a lot of snakes while we were there, but I bought a lot of snakes while we were there.
Yes, you did.
And yeah, she's just kind of like, just rolls her eyes at me, puts her head down, and goes to work. And while she had a lot of help packing all these animals up, come Monday, it was all her putting them all away. And each one has their own ID number. It's got to go back in its specific slot in order, all that, and then had to set up 40 new, quarantine cages with all this, all these babies, 40 plus. So kudos to her and what she does because it is a lot, but good stuff.
Yeah, I have one more group of people I need to thank, and the reason why I didn't mention them is because they were so efficient that it didn't seem like that big of an issue to me, but it was kind of like you talking about Ox and Corey who are like, grinding away while we're in the captain's chair. I want to thank specifically Lauren Mort and the rest of the Zoosci crew, because every time I go to Clint, I'm usually bringing creatures from West Liberty that are surplus. And we are currently in the process of moving our rather large Florida King collection from one building to my new conservation center. We bought our all new ARS racks for them. But we knew that we were going to downsize because we have a lot of Florida Kings. And so Lauren and I met and we basically came to the conclusion that like right now, I think we had 120 or 130. And so we got rid of about 30 adults. And making that decision was kind of fun because Lauren is she's your classic zookeeper. She's trained as a zookeeper. So she's used to being given instructions and then she goes and she can make decisions. Don't get me wrong. But like these kind of like management decisions of what animal goes, that usually falls in the hands of like a curator. She's our assistant curator. And I think I might have blew her brain up, and I didn't mean to, when I was like, yeah, I asked her, like, well, how many do you think we should move to Clint? And she said, probably around 30. And I was like, okay. And then she hit me with, so which ones are going to go? And I think I said something to the effect of whichever ones you want to go, which I did not know would then ensue with the, like, she thought about that and did a really, really good job keeping tabs of like our genetics and diversifying everything and making sure we moved on, snakes that were healthy. We didn't move anything that was unhealthy, but I kept saying, like, we need to maximize genetics and all that. And I saw the spreadsheet that she had made right before we had left, and it looked like that meme, not app, of Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he's got like the strings and everything. And I was like, damn. And all she said was okay, and she just did it, and I got a bunch of snakes, and we went on our way. So the people in Zoosai that prep things to head down to you, major kudos to you as well, because that enabled me not to worry about that. I knew it was in good hands. So there we go. Thanks.
Awesome.
Okay.
Let's say this final piece, and then we'll get into the show. I mentioned Ox, I mentioned Corey in their prep here, but I want to thank Ox and Corey again, as well as Caleb. Caleb's one of our newest hires, and Caleb and Caleb's father, Aaron, who's a buddy of mine, and they were at the first Colubridfest, and it's funny, before we hired Caleb, he had given like 2 weekends that he needed off when we were, that initial, is there anything we have to schedule you off for before, hiring you? And there was this one weekend, and there was Colubridfest. He was going to Colubridfest, whether he's working here or not, Yeah. And so I want to thank him as well, because Caleb jumped in, and basically anytime anything was needed throughout Saturday, and then of course on Sunday, the three of them ran the table while I ran my mouth.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what happened. So yeah, great job, guys.
Great job. Cool.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we're going to get into it, and let's just do this, up front. So normally we have our guest segment. Well, our guest segment is always brought to you by ReptiChip. I had Repti Earth, Repti Chip, Baby Chip, Ready Chip, had everything there at Colubridfest, and that was certainly represented. We thank Repti Chip for all that they do. The science update is, go ahead.
Rare Genetics Inc., who also was at Colubridfest. So
yep, Ben gave a talk.
Dr. Ben gave a freaking talk. So
yeah,
we'll be about that here. And Kayla apparently made the talk. So kudos to you, Kayla. We'll get into what was discussed there when we review Saturday.
And we had a ton of sheds brought for them, and I loved it. Kayla is walking around during the expo, and anything she saw with a shed in, can I have that?
Yeah.
Can I have that? And so she's just getting more and more right then and there. So that was great. And then the market update is brought by the team that put every bit of this together for us. That's the Show Me Marketplace and the Show Me Reptile Show. Again, and we're going to be talking about Mickey and his team, as we go through this, because they certainly did a lot. Like I said, it was Mickey, it was Blake, it was Rachel. They really, really kicked some butt for us, as well as Emma. So thank you guys for all that you do.
Yep.
So you ready to jump into it?
Sure am.
All right. Well, I think what we decided to do is to kind of go day by day.
Yeah.
And to give you guys an idea on what this is going to look like, we're going to talk about Friday. We're going to talk about what went great. We're going to talk about pain points. We're going to tell you any stories that were fun or whatnot from there. We're going to do that for Friday. We're going to do that for Saturday. We're going to do that for Sunday. And then we're going to talk about big changes that we have coming for next year. So stick with us. If you are someone who's looking at attending next year, you're going to get to hear about all these exciting things. If you've been there for year one, or now year one and year two, you're going to get to hear what we're going to do to make it even better for you next year. So
there you go.
We'll start with Friday.
Yeah. So Friday, packed the vans at West Lib. And I can't remember. I think that we left around 10:30. I will say driving to Fort Wayne is easy from where I'm at. Some people, it wasn't that easy. But for us, you just basically go to Columbus and then you start in this like Northwest. And it's a nice, I don't, the thing about the Midwest that absolutely destroys me, given that I live in Appalachia where you don't drive straight anywhere, is the interstates. I don't like them. So I was extremely pleased when I looked at my Google Maps and there was this like ladder thing going up through Western Ohio and Eastern Indiana. So it really wasn't that bad a drive. We were on back roads, single lane back roads. And yeah, that's it. So getting there wasn't a problem. When we got there, I'm going to say this. When we got to Indianapolis, I was like, holy hell, this venue is huge. When we got to Fort Wayne, I was like, holy hell, this venue is huge. I was not prepared for just the enormity of the venue. Like I thought small town, Wheeling-like town where I live, we have a civic center. I was prepared for that. Fort Wayne, you got one hell of an event center. That's all I got to say.
And somebody told me that they were told by one of the employees. So I haven't fact checked this. I'm sure somebody will. But I was told that that was the largest, basically largest building in Indiana. That it's the most square footage under one roof. And apparently they have a whole freaking a hockey ring in there. Yeah. And I mean, and we never even came close to seeing it.
No,
that's how big. Yeah, that's how big this place is. But luckily it wasn't like you had to go miles to get to where we were at. You walk in the front door, it's right over here, boom, 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 right and there. You're in there, you know? Yeah. So that was pretty cool. It's definitely, you know, not just the overall venue, but even the room that we have for the show is massive.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's even with, we were only a third of it. It was walled off. We were only in a third and had all that space. So, I mean, tons and tons of room for growth, you know, should we and when we need it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's definitely wins in as much space as we have. So,
yeah. So space was not at a premium for this.
No, and I would also say there was twice as many Friday attendees. The vendor count was significantly higher than year one, as we all expected. You know, you, I, Mickey, we already knew it was because we could see the count. And I think most of the vendors expected that as well, that, you know, that vendor count was going to grow. And it was a much bigger pool.
Yep.
Much bigger pool. We had people from everywhere, you know, across the U.S. this time. Utah, California, Florida,
Tennessee,
Texas, Tennessee, Georgia,
Ohio,
Kentucky, Indiana. I mean, yes, Wisconsin. They were from all over. And the great thing, and I can talk about this more when we get into Sunday, but the great thing about having people from that wide of a range is they tend to work with different things because different things are popular in different regions, you know, more so than others. So, man, that really played a factor in what we'll talk about, you know, on the Sunday show. But even just the VIPs, we knew right off the bat on Friday when we started hitting about that 6 o'clock mark, we could tell, okay, this is already, there are already more people here than there were here all day Saturday. You know, it was definitely a big jump. So
that was cool.
Yeah.
So, you know, vendor setup, I didn't really help that much this year because I went straight to getting the audio visual stuff ready for the panels and the talks actually that night. But that seemed easier. I mean, you could just walk straight from the outside onto the show floor.
Yeah,
it's so much have that in Indianapolis.
Yeah, so much easier with this venue. We could pull up right there to the back door that came right in. You know, pretty much they had. Most vendors bring their own carts, but they also had these giant ass carts right there. Yeah. So I mean, normally even if it took you a few trips, I mean, if you just grab one of their carts, you're pushing it in one. You know, with everything that those carts could handle. One of my and I can't say it was like this for everybody, but man, I considered myself lucky because I show up and now Ox and Corey, they're not coming until the next day or later that night. Was it Friday? Yeah, they weren't getting there until late Friday
They were
night.
definitely there Friday.
Yeah, yeah. But they weren't going to be there to help me set up. And the only person I was going to have was Ricky, my buddy from last year, not a reptile guy. He can't really help me set up. All he can do is help me carry stuff in because he has no idea what anything else, where it needs to go or anything like that afterwards. But he certainly makes my ride up a lot better.
Yeah,
Because we are just chatty Cathy's when the two of us get together and just have a blast and laughing. And so, for my ride up, I didn't even go into that. We're coming up from Evansville, and actually it was a better drive than I was anticipating, because the last time I went from Evansville to Fort Wayne, it was close to 6 hours. Now I'm going well, actually, no, I wasn't as deep into Fort Wayne as what I thought. And I only know that because I literally drove past the building I went to the last time I was in Fort Wayne. But it was closer to 6 hours. And that was a long time ago. It was over 10 years, probably 15 years ago, that I did that. And since then, Interstate 69, I know that it's moved from Evansville to Indianapolis and closed a lot of that gap. So it's a straight shot. Boom. It's a lot faster. It shaved like a half hour of that travel time for us. But they also extended on the other side of Indianapolis up to Fort Wayne. And so it was only about 4.5 hours for us when I was
That's how long it was for us.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was going to be, an easier drive. But for us, Ricky and I took off at we planned on 7:30, which means we got out of here a little after 8.
Yeah.
And then we stopped at the Indianapolis airport, picked up Kayla Martin on the way, and came the rest of the way up. And again, everybody's unloading at that point. Well, when I get there, there's Andrew Hughes, there's Jason May, who's another local and great guy. The two of them had gotten up there together, and so they're there to help me unload. Ricky's helping me unload, and as we're getting everything just over, then all your students are your first batch, because you guys got separated. Your first batch of students came over, and I'm like, oh hell yeah. So I got set up real fast. Everybody just grabbing stuff and unboxing things, and that certainly helped, because I think we had like 3 or 4 tables and then a bunch of the racks. So that was awesome. It was a good day. I was in a good mood all freaking day.
And it seemed like setup was easy.
Yeah.
Got all the crap set up to give the talks. So then we get later into the day. I guess we can just fast forward. Obviously, we're seeing old friends. We're meeting new people, and there's kind of a weird. It's a good energy, but there's a little bit of a chaotic energy, which that's not meant to be. Like sometimes a chaotic energy is a fun energy. So, gotta get this thing all set up. And Max and Chris, his girlfriend, helped me get the audio visual stuff, and then I couldn't get the thing to work. Shocker. So I got the 2 of my undergrads, Daniel and Braden, who saved the day multiple times, figured out how to get the damn computer to talk to the screen, because we couldn't use an HDMI cable. But we got it all to work. And then we kind of basically, it seemed like the plan worked for Friday night, because there was definitely a group of people that were just kind of sitting in the chairs in front of the stage. And just so you all know, the layout of the room, stage was on one side with about 250 chairs, and then a bunch of round tables for sitting, just BSing. And then there was a wall of curtains, which I actually really liked, because you could just walk up to it and go straight through it. And then you got on the other side, and then that's where all the tables and the show was. So all in one contiguous place. And then 6 o'clock rolls around, and it was, actually about 5:30 rolls around. We could talk about the first hiccup that Mickey kind of came to save the day. So initially, the icebreaker was supposed to be in the venue. And we told everybody it's going to be in the venue. Now, guys, please, if you listen to this, you might be listening to this, by the way, right before Colubridfest number 3. If you're listening to this then, I want you to hear the words that are coming out of my mouth. We are only privy to what we are told is going to happen. Yep. But I can tell you now, doing 2 of these, about 80 to 90% of what we're told by the venues is actually going to happen. And so it became blissfully aware that there weren't any concessions. There wasn't going to be a bar, and there was absolutely no way we were going to have any food in the venue, because the peeps that ran the venue, they were never really mean, but they were very dedicated to their rules. And one of their rules was no outside food or drink. So we realized, crap, got to pivot right off the rip, got to do the social somewhere else. And so Mickey, and I think you two were talking and just basically told me, and I was fine with that. Social's going to be happening back at the hotel, which then meant it was supposed to be 6 to 7 sexing snakes, 7 to 8 snake taxonomy. And Mickey goes, yeah, is there any way that you could get that talk done in like 15 minutes? And I had an hour worth of crap to talk about, and I didn't want to like short it because I knew there were actually people that were excited about the talk because they messaged me ahead of time how excited they were that I was going to be doing snake taxonomy for them in person. So I didn't want to short them. And so we kind of came up with Mickey would shorten his talk, but then that meant that my talk had to start early. And I can say, in my world of academia, you go to a conference, if it says you talk at 7, you talk at 7. You don't talk at 6:15. So that was a little shock to my nerd bucket system. But I realized the people that were like, this is not that. And so thank you, Colubridfest family, for just being like, okay. And that was the general vibe. There wasn't like, well, what the hell? I thought like I was totally expecting that, to be totally honest with you. And everyone was like, all right. So that was awesome.
Everyone was just happy to freaking be there.
Yeah, no. I mean,
you could feel that immediately.
Yes. So that's what we did. So Mickey gave a shorter talk on probing snakes. And then we called everybody over that wasn't there. And I was kind of not, it was pleasant to see that the exhibit hall kind of emptied and a bunch of people came over. And then I did the fastest talk known to man on the most complicated taxonomic crap known to man. And sorry, April. I know I screwed up the house snake part.
I was standing with her when you did that.
But my brain was going about 355 miles per hour. And I was the squirrel from over the hedge. That's what it was. It's like my world was slowing down, but everybody else is, so, I will fix it. But anywho, so that talk was great. And then basically after, kind of doing the meet and greet and that, everybody went to the hotel. And then we get to the hotel and the poor hotel folk.
Yeah. So
tell everybody what happened at the hotel.
So first, let us say this. This hotel was great. They were great. This was a Hilton Garden Inn, and so if you've been to Hilton Garden Inns, you're probably thinking, "What's so great?" Those are decent hotels, but what made this special? And I will tell you, it's the same thing that makes anything special. The people that were there.
Yeah.
Brian, in fact, the guy, the night manager, Brian, I just spoke to him again today. So I needed my receipts, so I gave him a call, and he knew exactly who I was, and blah blah blah. So. If you didn't see it on Facebook, before we ever got there, this hotel redid their menu with all these snake and reptile themed things. I mean, I just renamed stuff, and it was so cool because think about it. How often are you going to a hotel and you're like, do I got to hide my snakes?
You did not have to hide.
They are like, you are welcome to be here with us. They were just thrilled because, I mean, we sold out their hotel. I mean, it was, and the hotel next to them. I mean, so it was awesome. Well, they gave us a big conference room. Yeah. No additional charge.
And I think people need to understand, I know how much those rooms are an hour. They are normally anywhere from, a cheap hotel conference room for an hour is $500. That's cheap. Sometimes they're like $800. The fact that they were like, take the room, that was pretty awesome. So,
now, that was the great part. The part that poor Brian, because he even told me as I'm checking in, he goes, I'm so embarrassed about this. And I told him, I go, Brian, I'm an employer as well. Not just someone who's staying here. So I get it, buddy. This poor manager has all these people from Colubridfest filling his hotel. And that evening, his bartender
Yep.
and his cook quit.
Yep.
The
So while
hotel
they
is
made a beautiful snake menu, unfortunately, we didn't get to eat any of it. Not
No.
because of the hotel, because the cook quit.
Yeah,
So,
just and that's one of those things where I don't know if somebody ticked somebody off or if it was oh, this is that night. If we're going to screw them over, this is when you want to
yeah.
do it, and that's what happened. But now this is again where we say this a lot when we're talking about Colubridfest, where Mickey does not ever get enough credit.
He doesn't.
For what he does and who he is, because what did Mickey do? Mickey ordered 70 pizzas.
Yup.
And a cart. I'm telling you, a cart. It was like $600 worth of booze.
Yep.
And wheels that into the room, puts it up on the counter, and tells everyone, have at it. And they did. And they did. And it was, that was such an incredible, like, just jump off point for the weekend. And now, no one was sloshed and stupid.
Yeah, we did not get obliterated.
No.
That did not happen.
And I mean, James Green certainly did his best to try to get people there as he cracks open the moonshine.
Yes.
And he knows the hillbillies here aren't going to say no.
Ding, ding.
So it smelled like it was going to hurt, but it went down rather smooth. So
yeah, corn water does that to you.
It does. It does. So, that and several shots later, everyone was feeling real good.
Yep.
And it was just like last year where the different groups continued to shift. Everyone was talking to everyone and moving around, and you would see just different conversations taking place. And again, you look around and you're seeing some of the just top breeders across the country. And even if they're not some well-known breeder, you're seeing individuals that you saw last time, you're talking to online, and it's just everybody is around and smiling and having this great time. And the room is so loud. And there was someone who was up near the lobby, and two people came in from another hotel because they heard, we're over here, and there's like 5 people over there talking about something. They walk in and they see this other reptile person. They go, "Is this it? Is this the party?" And they said, they go, "Come here." And walks them back there, and it's just, massive boom. Everybody's having it. And again, and we were in there until they told us we had to leave. Yeah. Until they were like, "Okay, we got to kick you guys out."
I was trying. So I got sick on the drive out, and I know me when I get sick. And my son got sick on Tuesday, and I was kind of like, "I love you dearly, but you little mother," because my Colin gets sick. 48 hours later, I'm sick. I was never sick until I had a kid, and now I get sick when Colin's sick. And I thought, you cannot hit me during this weekend. I need to be in my prime this weekend. Sure enough, driving out across Ohio, I was like, man, I could feel kind of loopy. And so by the time I got done with my talk, it was hitting me,
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to I thought, you got to politely get rest because you're on point the whole next day. I actually think you may have gotten to the room before I got to my room, because we just kept talking, and I didn't get to my room until I think it was 10 till 1, because James found me in the lobby, and I already had some shots, and he was like, "Let's just keep it going." And I have this thing where I can't. It's bad. It's not good. You wouldn't expect it from like Dr. Loughman, but I'm kind of like, okay. And so we just, and I was talking about king snakes, and I thought, well, it's like 11:15. I could get to bed. No, and I looked at the watch, and it was like 10 till 1. I was like, oh shit. So I was like, so then I went up and got a whopping 4.5, 5 hours of sleep. So
that's about how it was for
it was great
for a lot of us. It was, and and then you and I are down there eating breakfast, the next morning, and seeing everybody, and ready to kick it off. So that's that's kind of the wins and the pain points as far as Friday, and then of course the big win was Mickey, coming through and having an incredible party. So that takes us to Saturday. Now Saturday's up. And I'll say right off the bat, the talks were great.
They were
I
fantastic.
think we had just as much engagement from the audience as last year.
Mhm.
The questions were flying. Everyone felt comfortable, speaking up and giving their thoughts, as well as a lot of questions for the the presenters. So I think it was great. And if you want to kind of go into what those
Sure.
talks were,
So,
let's.
I had a strategy this year, and based off the feedback, we will keep this strategy. So the first year, and I put together lots of symposiums in the science side of my career. And it's a general rule when you do a symposium, like a crayfish symposium, we'll do all the evolution talks will be together, and then all the behavioral ecology talks, and then all the conservation talks, and then the invasive species talks. And so you kind of have these themes. Last year, I didn't know what the hell were the themes. And so last year, it was kind of a shotgun approach. So we had like a talk on morphs, a talk on locality, a talk on building the community, a talk on women in herpetoculture. So but there was kind of this disjunct nature, a talk on getting troublesome babies to eat.
Mhm.
And I was able to kind of pull, and that was intentional last year, because I was just kind of sitting back, taking notes, seeing audience response. And people responded to all the talks in a positive way. Some talks had a little bit more of a oomph than others. And
Mhm.
so I kind of took that and brought it in. And so the themes for this year were, I knew I had to get something in there for morphs, but I didn't want it to be morph centric. I wanted to get in
Mhm.
there how morphs are made, the
Cool.
science behind morphs. This year, first half of the day was science. Second half of the middle part of the day was keeping. And then the last half of the day was colubrid culture. And what I mean by that is our community's culture, because we want to end on that high note.
Mhm.
And so we had, I'm looking at this spreadsheet here, Dr. Ben Morrill for Rare Genetics Inc. I wanted a how genes work talk, and I wanted to go over things like codominant, which we don't really understand in herpetoculture the way I was taught it. And I
Correct.
thought no better than to have a herpetoculture guy teach the biology piece. And I snagged Ben last year and told him, "You're talking next year." And so he led the whole thing off and gave an app. It was a great talk to begin. Ben's a great speaker.
And had
He
fun with
took
it too.
he took like Punnett squares with flowers on it from a high school biology book, but then he took literally a super conda hognose snake, a normal hognose snake, and an anaconda hognose snake, overlaid them over the flowers. And Kayla technically did that, so good job,
And we
Kayla.
don't mean like instead of the
No,
flowers.
no,
We mean like these, you have this like cut out version thrown on
yes,
top of the flowers, which made it just, again, it made it even, you couldn't help but chuckle and have fun
yeah,
with it
it
while
was
you're
great.
learning. It was awesome.
And so we had that talk, and then I wanted to kind of get into enrichment this year, because to me,
Mhm.
I have mixed feelings about herpetoculture, the private sector's discussions, and the professional side, if I'm being honest, about enrichment, because I feel like it has become a hot button topic that alienates two sides of an issue, and it is just stupid that happens.
And as you have
And
said, it's weaponized so
it's
often.
weaponized. Like, well, you
Yeah.
don't do this, you suck. You know, or the flip side to that is, I don't need that. This is dumb. I kept them this way forever. I'm going to keep doing it. That's equally stupid,
Yes.
in my opinion.
Yes.
So rather than do, you know, so the way I approached it was, we had John Lasseter come. He's obviously one of our great cheerleaders. He's got his pom poms for Colubridfest,
Mhm.
and he asked to give a talk last year. And I was like, hell yeah, we'll have the Church of Lasseter speak. And so John, I think, is one of the absolute best examples of how you can use a rack in an insanely efficient way and in an enriched way. And his whole keeping philosophy is options. Got to give your snakes options. Here's how you give a snake options in a rack tub. And so, but he didn't just talk about rack tubs. He brought in we had an Applegate enclosure in the damn building, which was awesome. And so he talked about keeping the snakes in an Applegate enclosure, his Mountain Kings, keeping them. And then he showed his prototype for a rack tub. And the whole point of this talk was to just get you to think. And he nailed it. And it was funny because John came up to me and was like, I didn't feel like that went that well. That was friggin' great. Like, it goes well when there's a break and people are still talking about it.
Yeah.
And many people came up to me and was like, wow, that was awesome. And then that talk led into Kayla and I's talk on enrichment. And so I just basically, for all the nerds that like my science, I knew there's a line Matt Damon says in The Martian when he he realizes I'm stuck on Mars. I'm not getting off here anytime soon. And he basically says, I'm going to science the hell out of this thing. And then, proceeds to use his crap to grow food. So I thought, I'm going to science the crap out of this thing. So we had me doing, the classic CCR treatment, journal articles and graphs and all that. But then that segued into the applied part of it, which was Kayla, who did a fantastic job talking about here's how you take what the egghead said and actually use it in real life. And then both of those led to all three of them actually had their conversation piece, and people were engaged. People were asking questions. People were doing their thing. And so by the end of that first session, I was liking where we were. Every time you do something where you're contingent on audience participation, I don't care who the hell you are butt puckered until you hear how the audience is going to respond. So just like last year, I had butterflies during Ben's talk, and then it got to the question period. And as soon as I saw like 6 hands go up immediately, I was like, we're going to be okay.
Oh, yeah. And it also kept Zac and I a little lean.
Yeah.
Because this was a big venue, and we'll talk a little more about that in a moment. But and we had one mic to move around. We didn't have 2 cordless mics.
And I was sick.
Yeah. And so, there's a lot of running from one person to another to get the questions asked. But it was great. We made jokes about it as we're doing it. But, I mean, we loved every second of it because it meant that the talks were working, and the points we were hoping to be made were made. Side note about Lassiter. I'll know tomorrow. I think he's going to shoot me a message in the morning because he may be stopping by Metazotics on his way back home.
Hell yeah.
So it's going to be pretty cool.
Well, I want to give props to our close friend, Miss Kayla Martin, because I helped Kayla do her IHS presentation, and she was tweaking about that talk. And oh, how Kayla's grown. Because Friday, I was like, do you want to practice? Because we didn't have a chance to practice. And she's like, nah, I'm just going to wing it. And I was like, yes. Because, she's so awesome at what she does. It's good to see that she knows that she can just kind of get up there and talk to the masses because she's earned the right to be at that point.
And I'm going to tell you what, she absolutely did a great job. And without giving you a big head here, anyone who's listening to this is going to understand what I'm saying. She's following Zac, and you have a big presence on stage, a confidence on stage, and you're literally hitting a lot of the science research, and she's stepping up right after you. And Kayla's much more soft-spoken. She's not nearly as a physical presence, you know what I mean, as you are. And it's so much of what we would call opinion at this point, because it's all just, things she's watched and noticed and how she feels, about putting this stuff together. But it really tied the data that you were talking about into real implementation.
Real pragmatism.
And exactly. And so, I mean, she did a fantastic job. And, Kayla's like one of the biggest celebrities in the building.
She really is.
Colubridfest. I mean, she's the one. I see so many people seeking her out. That's who they want to meet. So, she did a great job, and I think it was just a great split and partnership. With you two up there doing it, and it really drove that piece home.
So then people went to lunch. One of the things that we encouraged everybody to do was go to lunch with somebody you don't know, and people actually did that. Just today, I saw a picture that made my heart go pitter patter. I didn't know this happened. I don't know if it was lunch. I don't know if it was dinner. I don't know what day it was, but somebody put up a picture of a big long table, and I was looking at all the faces, and I know some of those people didn't know each other before this weekend. And I was like, this is what this is all about. So we had a nice time for lunch. I, of course, didn't leave the building because I was trying to make sure everything was going to go ready for the next round. And then immediately after lunch, we have our resident vet for CCR, Dr. Whitman. And this year, he was teamed up. He gave an independent talk, and then we had a return visit by John Rice of Fathom Hogs, who followed him. Whitman talked about emerging diseases and covered things like snake fungal disease, crypto, entamoeba, snake polio, which sounds absolutely freaking horrible and is brand new.
That's just what he's calling it because they don't even know what to call it
yet. Yeah. And then talked about, some quarantine practices from a veterinary perspective. And wonderful talk as always. I know a lot of people went up to him and kept talking.
Scared the shit out of all of us.
Yeah, scared us. Scared us to death. And learning that veterinary talks at conferences, you just need to get a blanket and start shaking in the corner. Because that's what happened to us at IHS when the vet started talking.
Yep.
Anyway, so that kind of got people to the point where maybe I should think about quarantine. And then we had the master of quarantine himself.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. John Rice gave his talk about how he manages his hognose facility. I've been to John's hognose facility because he's my co-author with the book, and he's only an hour and a half from where I live. And I knew when we were going to find someone to follow Whitman, even though John talked last year, there was no better person to give this talk than John. So I initially had asked Jeff Galewood and John. Jeff had to go to Anaheim, so he went to Anaheim, so it was John's talk, and he knocked it out of the park. We now know that John has obsessive compulsive disorder beyond belief, and that he really likes washing machines. The dude's got 5 of them in his garage to sanitize stuff.
He has 6 brand new ones waiting, just in case any of them go out. That are just boxed up and waiting. Yeah.
So he sets the gold standard as far as I'm concerned. So he kind of led by example, and he was the other person that came up to me and was like, I don't really think I did a good job. And I was like, how the hell could you think that, dude?
We had to cut people off. We had to cut people off from the questions. It went so long.
Little short. So that meant we had 40 minutes of questions, and it was just boom, 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 boom. And he was right up there handling them all. And we actually had to shut the talk down. People still had questions. So I'm sorry, John, if you're listening to this. No, you did not do a bad job.
You did
a great job. Then we had a break. And then we got to the Colubrid culture part of the day, which is kind of okay, we're doing all this stuff. Why are we doing this? And Joe DiStefano, who massive friend of Colubridfest, one of the other cheerleaders.
The Colubrid Corruption podcast.
Yes, of Colubrid Corruption. He reached out to me very early on, just like Lassiter did, and was like, he was part of a panel last year, but he wanted to give the how do you start a project, the do's and the don'ts from my experience. And we love that stuff.
Yeah,
and there's no way we're not going to have Joe give a talk if he's asking. And he also completely freaking slaughtered his talk. It was great. He doesn't know it, but a couple of the West Liberty students who were they're on the fence as to what they're going to do. They said that Joe guy is what they said. They were the undergrads. They basically came up to me and was like, that was a really good talk. I've never thought about that stuff before. It gave me some perspective I didn't have, which is the exact freaking point. So
100%.
He nailed it. And then we got to the final talk of the day, which was titled The Culture. I have it here. The Culture of Colubrid Culture. I'm very proud of that, by the way. That was me. But Mr. Clint here was the one of the people in this panel, and we had Eric Westmoreland, and we had April Linkfield. April Linkfield does house snakes. If we have an episode with her, Eric Westmoreland does corns, milks, gophers, classic Colubrid keeper. We have an episode with him, and this was all about our culture and how we are going to what do we want our culture to be, and how do we grow it. And I'll let you talk a little bit since you gave the talk, and then I'll give my thoughts on your talk.
Okay, no problem. So, first off, I want to thank Eric because you know, and hopefully you don't get mad at me for telling this, Eric, but Eric was really nervous to go up on that stage. It's, you know, we didn't know that, at least I didn't know this until right as it was time for us to go on there, but he, you know, that kind of that public speaking, you know what I mean? You could, he goes, can I just sit behind the curtain facing the wall and answer questions like that? I'm like, no, you know, you're going to be out here, but you did a great job, Eric. And,
really did, dude.
you know, and I loved having Eric up there because Eric is such a positive force in the Colubrid community's culture. You know, he's on social media. The man's always smiling when I see him. I love that after every show that he goes to, you're going to see a couple dozen selfies of him and friends at every show, because he's got friends at every show. So, you know, it was really good.
I want to say one more thing. And the guy's had a rough couple years, and I really, honest to Christ, think that he's an inspiration to all of us, because he's fought the good fight for us. He brought a lot of BS to the light that a lot of people didn't realize, and he has changed people through what has happened to him. So I don't think he gets that. I don't think he understands that. Everybody listening to this show owes Eric a little debt of gratitude. And that's why we wanted to include him in, you know, part of the panels, because he's the best of us. So I just think people need to know that.
So it was an honor to be up there on the stage with him, and then be sitting next to April Linkfield, because this is one of the sharpest individuals in our hobby. Yeah. I mean, she's on point. And we're talking from several different angles. I mean, forgive me, I know it's in a very sciencey type world. Is it a veterinarian she's working with? What exactly does it? She's
working in veterinary science.
Veterinary science, that's right. Yes. And
she's got a master's and a bachelor's degree. I mean, she's legit.
100%. You know, she knows her stuff. You know, there's only two people in the country that, in my opinion, have that rival one another when it comes to house snake knowledge, and we have both of them under that roof. Yes, I mean, her and Warren, and she, not only is she super intelligent, but she also has a kind of a philosophical mind at the same time. And not everybody has that. When you're that, you know, good when it comes to an academic role, to be able to think in such just broad humanitarian type thought. Yep. You know what I mean? And I, you know, she was another just great, you know, people to have up there, and with some incredible insights. And it was a topic that, you know, we all care about. I mean, you know, especially the three of us that were up there, it is important to us, whether we've stopped and thought about that being important to us or not. When you put a phrase on it, it's like, yeah, that's it. That is what we've been working towards, you know? And so we had a great talk. And I mean, really what we were going into is, you know, what makes the Colubrid culture different than, let's say, other segments, you know, of the hobby? What made it that way? Where's it going? What's it doing? And it was a very fun talk for us. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed being up there. And so everyone knows this wasn't a prepared presentation. This was a Zac tosses us questions and we go into it panel.
Yes. And by this point in the day, I was feeling rough. I was trying my absolute damnedest to smile. I know at times I wasn't smiling.
And that was caught on camera.
I know at times I wasn't smiling is because pictures like this started showing up. Oh, crap. Hold on. There we go. There I am. And this was thank you, Jason Hood, for catching my essence. So if you're watching YouTube, you can see it. If not, I pretty much look like a male silverback gorilla deciding who the hell he's going to thump.
There's such disdain in that. And it's like, I've even taken it. It's already cropped down and it's saved in my phone so that anytime someone asks me something anytime someone does something that irritates me, or ask me something that irritates me, I'm just replying with that picture because it's the perfect meme ever.
And the other thing that's amazing is the lighting shows off my brow ridge, so I look like a damn Neanderthal. So if you're listening to this in your car, just find this page and this look, but it's great. So I'm sorry. I'm also going to apologize right now if there was a moment you came up to me and I looked at you like this. I did not mean to it. The students are in the back and it's hysterical. I checked my phone when it was all done and it's just smile, 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 smile. I told them if the RBF shows up, could you just tell me so I can maybe not do it? But this is not a look of disdain. This is actually the look I make when I'm thinking. It's just, yeah. So anyway.
My favorite part is in the post that he made in this. He's got another picture in the same post that says, luckily there's a softer side to Zac. And it's just barely, just
barely different.
Barely. This makes it so much.
Here it is.
Yeah. There's the soft.
So anyway, but I know that this happened during your talk.
So good. Oh, you kicked yourself off.
Well played, Hood.
Yeah, very, very nice, buddy.
But I do want to talk a little bit about your final talk there, Mr. Bartley, because you brought the fire, man. And I asked you the question, how do we get better? And you basically, I don't know how anybody could have left that talk at the end of it not ready to go to war with you. And I know that people felt that way because they came up to you and said it. So excellent job saving my ass a little bit there at the end, but getting everybody riled up and ready to go. And it was like the perfect send-off into the evening. So well played, sir.
I appreciate you. We were already talking about a topic that is incredibly important to me. And I mean, it kind of was a piece of what the entire weekend's supposed to be about. And so, I mean, when you toss that question on, how do we make it better and where's it going to go? What do we do with it? It's like, you know what? Okay. And it just kept coming. You know what I mean? It just kept coming. And so it's a piece that was important. It was very important. So I appreciate the kind words and as well as the individuals. There were multiple that came up to talk to me about it afterwards. And I really thank you guys for that. It did mean a lot.
Yep. So before we move on to the evening, let's hit on a couple touch point or, bottleneck points so people know that we are aware. One of the issues with the talks was the room. The room, great for a show, a little bit too big for the talks. And the reason why I say that is that the audio and the audio mechanics, I don't know if that's the right word, acoustics, that's what I'm looking for. It was such a big room that when you talk into a microphone, the speakers were just kind of going out into ether. And we were having some issues with the microphones working and the speakers being loud enough. So we have already addressed two things for next year. Are we talking about that now? Or are we talking about that at the end?
We'll go into it in the end. That's fine.
Okay. And just wait till the end. Those of you who had issues with that, we'll be discussing it later. But we think we have a very easy fix. So there you go. Okay.
And to tell you the truth, this was a fix that was already mentioned and discussed before we ever got there. Mickey already had this. It just wasn't going to work for this particular year. But it's going to be a lock-in for next. So, then we everybody went to dinner, came
Except
back.
Me.
Yeah.
I didn't leave that room.
I didn't leave it either because
you
I
were
went for
working on
lunch.
the auction.
Yes, that's why I had to stay, was the auction. I wanted to get everything
and I was
prepared
getting the awards ceremony all set up and laid out.
And here again is where we need to thank some people. So Ox and Corey ran the POS system to take payments from the auction. And we had several of the West Lib students. We had several of Mickey's team. All were, the way it was structured is I would announce an auction item and what it is, try to give a value on it if I knew it. I would hand that to any of those individuals I just mentioned who would then walk it around. And while they're walking around, Mickey would be the individual auctioning it off. And so I just, again, want to thank everybody who, participated in that, because you also had each auction item had a number. So, one of the West Liberty students is sitting there with a laptop. Yeah. Where he's having to type what number we're on, because they're not in order. I'm just picking random shit.
Yeah. And I want to talk to you about Tyler doing that remind me to talk about that because that was one of the funniest part, actually.
So he's doing that, and you have another individual who would have to write the number of the auction item that I'm doing, and then whoever wins, they give them that number, because at the end you bring up all your numbers and pay, your dues, and then take your items. So there's a lot going on in a short amount of time. But before we get into the auction, we had the awards. That's how we kicked off when everybody came back. But I mentioned all that because that's what was going on and getting prepped during, when everybody else is going to dinner. We were trying to get all that done. And there were over 100 auction items.
Yeah.
Well over 100. I had to start shrinking them down and putting them into groups. So, yeah, it was fantastic. But I don't know about you, but I absolutely loved being up there and getting to announce some awards. And
I've done a lot of award ceremonies with science fairs for little kids and things like that. And that definitely gets the heartstrings going, don't get me wrong. But it was a very different vibe to give people in our community that deserve this. Like a lot of this is a lot of selfless work done in basements and garages. And if it was done in a zoo, it would be written up and celebrated, and we just need this part. So this was, truth be told, my favorite new thing was the awards.
Oh, absolutely.
I love the awards. And we'll talk about how we're going to change it here at the end, because there are some changes that are going to go down. But we basically broke the awards up into the breeder awards, which was best of, and then pitch ophis, rat snakes, Lampropeltis, so on and so forth. And then we had the community awards, which were for things where you're pushing colubrid culture or you're representing colubrid culture in the greater herpetocultural community. And so that was that. And it was great. It was awesome.
I have to tell you my favorite part of it. So we figured out, and again, there's always a hiccup. Always a hiccup. And a few days before heading out, Zac gets all the awards in, and the three of us, Zac, myself, and Mickey, are having that, okay, Colubridfest is this weekend. Let's check our lists here and make sure we've got everything that we need to be, done.
Jesus Christ.
And Zac says, well, we have a problem. I got all the awards in. We're missing one. Rob Zirkle won Rat Snake Breeder of the Year in Zirkle Company, and we don't have his award. I'll have it next week, but we won't have it for Colubridfest. And that's when I go, not a problem. We've got this. And I told Zac what I wanted him to do. And I don't even know if you planned it this way or what, but we were going back and forth on who was delivering awards. Yep. And I got Rob. I didn't know it until his was the next one to pop up, and I'm like, yes, because I was looking forward to this. So we, go through it. We announce Rob, and as Rob stands up to come up, I go, and Rob, this couldn't have happened to a better guy. We explained exactly what happened, that they forgot his award. I said, so we are going to present you with this awesome, and flipped it around, a framed IOU. Yes. with a snake on it. The audience cracks up. Rob's just chuckling. And what I loved is the next day at the show, Rob had his IOU
right
positioned on his table, celebrating. And I'm like that. Yeah. I love it. And I knew he'd get a kick out of it. And, so bet your award's coming in, buddy. We're going to get it out to you.
Yep.
It was great. It was really fun. It was really fun. And, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't also say it. So it felt a little weird.
It really did.
Receiving an award when you were part of the group that put the awards together, but
it's really weird to go buy your own award. That was a little bit, never happened before.
With that being said, I'm going to say two things. First, as I said when being presented the award, because I know while we put it together, it was the voting of all of you out there that, picked the winners. And, for me personally, it was Personality of the Year. Colubrid Personality of the Year is the award that I received, and it really is an honor that you would view me in that light. It is something that's very important. It's right here in my office, beside me over there, and it's, for me, what it did say was everything we're doing is resonating, and
Yep.
it is important to people. So, so I do want to say thank you to everyone for that. What I also want to say is what I said to you when I got to present yours, because I meant it. For those who didn't know, Zac won Colubrid Representative of the Year, Best Colubrid Representative, and I said it before you won, that I thought this particular category had to go to you, that this is who, because in my opinion, Zac, you truly are the pinnacle of representation, meaning it doesn't matter what group we would be wanting to look at the Colubrid community, whether it is an up and coming individual who just got into reptiles, whether it is someone from the academic world that's on a research project, whether it's DNR working on conservation. You truly are the poster boy for everything that we want represented in the Colubrid community. So I was, even though it felt weird to receive one myself, I was honored to get to give you yours.
Well, thank you, man. And it was pretty touching. I'm not going to lie. It's one thing when you're like running around and you're organizing and you're making PowerPoint slides and you're making the awards and getting them and buying them. And, I looked at it, and I'll admit I'm in the parking lot and I saw it. I was like, wow, that's like pretty sharp. That looks great. Mm-hmm. But it was more of a, like, you did good making, like, designing the award. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't really get to have the moment, but it was pretty freaking cool to be in front of everybody and see everybody smiling and nodding their head, and I was like, okay, there's a certain level of validation. And like I said, when I was there, I have unfortunately yet again proven my wife right, because all the way back when we started this thing, I said, the running joke in this house is like, I'm going to do a little podcast. And she looked at me and was like, bullshit. I was like, what? She's like, I don't know where this is going to go, but you're going to take it somewhere crazy. And I couldn't get it there without you, my friend. And we have taken it to places that, we're like, it's 48 hours ago. We were with a whole bunch of people from across the country bringing our community together.
Yeah.
Which is insane to think that this is the germination of this podcast. So getting to represent our community in those capacities, you said, it's one of the honors of my life, and I love it. I love when I sit at a table, say to people, I keep snakes, and they're like, you do? Like, with a quizzical way, and I'm like, here we go. Change in your mind right now. Here's all the good that we're doing. You might hear the bad in these circles, but we're doing good. So thank you, everyone, and I will live up to that honor for the rest of the year and into the future. So thanks.
And just tell Kathy, it's just a little podcast that led to a little barbecue.
Yeah, a little barbecue.
It's just a little barbecue.
Just a little barbecue. Mm-hmm. So we were it was a weird timing thing. I didn't want to do the awards. We had to give them the justice they deserved, but we also had 100 plus freaking auction items that we had to auction off. So, and in between that, my students, I told them all the way back in July, you are all going to Colubridfest. These are the Iowa graduate students, and you are giving a presentation. And I just want to say, I thought it was extremely important that they got up in front of people, because I also think it's extremely important that I want to know when I give money to something, I want to know it's going to the cause. And I could have given that talk, but it would not have resonated the same if it had to be Tyler, it had to be Paige, it had to be Alyssa. And they, in my opinion, and everybody else's opinion, knocked it out of the park. So they
absolutely did
a fantastic job letting everybody know that this is not just getting degrees for them. We are, they know where the funding came from. They're passionate about what they're doing. They were part of our community now that they've been there and seen. That was Alyssa and Paige's first reptile show, was Colubridfest.
They fit right in. I liked all of the kids that you had come. They were all fantastic. And it's great because, I mean, I hear their names on the show. And then, now getting to meet them, in person, they were wonderful. They really, really were.
Yeah.
And I want to point out when Zac says that, he could have given it, Zac could have gone up there and given the data and, given do the Zac thing, and give his energy in it. But I'm going to tell you what, hearing the passion coming out of them, how excited they are for what they're achieving out there, and they're achieving a lot. And there's going to be some key points, before you move past this that I want to make because what they set up there spawned an incredible aha moment the next day in a conversation I was having with someone. But
really?
Yes, it completely solidified the importance of what we were doing. Completely. So, but that so much whenever you're auctioning to quote unquote charity, right? It's going to go help some cause or something or some group or whatever, right? And you feel good that you're helping. But whenever you got to see up there exactly where these funds are going and who is using them, how they're using them, and how excited they are and passionate for what they're doing, it made it real easy to want to bid and want to buy and support that cause. So it was important. Is there anything else you want to say about them before I point out this big piece that was kind of a revelation?
I want to know this big piece.
Okay.
I'm curious.
So
we haven't talked about this yet.
No, we haven't. Okay. During their presentation, and you're going to have to help me with the numbers. Sure. I'm going to be, is it a 500 acre plot?
It's more than 500 acres.
More than 500 acres. Okay. Yeah. But are they working more on a because I want to say it was something, because they're not on the whole thing. They're more
they're just on the 500-ish acres.
Yes. Okay. So in this 500 acres that they're working on. Now, do you remember the number of snakes that they found? Number of reptiles?
Well, they had about 1,200 captures.
1,200 captures.
Now, a bunch of those are recaps. So I would say that they probably caught 700 snakes independent. Like there are 700 individual snakes. 700
individual snakes, and that's just the snakes.
Yeah.
That's not everything else they captured, because they had a whole list of all the stuff they were capturing. Yes. I mean, you're talking about a ton of animals. So now think about when you go out looking for snakes, right? And if you're going through acres and acres, most of the time you may find a couple, here or there, right? And so it really put in perspective, because that's just what they found.
Yeah.
Think about how many they didn't find, right? Mm-hmm. But it puts in perspective how much life is in that 500 acres. And we take that for granted. We know, there's a good population of this or that over there. But this goes to show us how we can't comprehend how many animals truly live in that area. Now, the thing about 500 acres, that's about the size of a big Amazon plant.
Oh, yeah.
I had a conversation on Sunday with Chad Fuchs. Mm-hmm. Love that guy. Great guy. Great guy. He does a lot of work with an organization for like duck hunting and things like that. Yeah. And they're, a lot of hunting organizations are big into conservation because it keeps what they enjoy long-term going. And we started talking about that, and it really says, it's not just the data that you're collecting, and learning the different stuff about the animals. It's what that told me is how badly we have got to protect more land.
Yeah.
Because how many animals lose their home or their life, or both, every time a new Amazon warehouse goes up?
Yep.
I mean, it's amazing. No. That was a big, holy shit moment for me. It really, really was. So
now you put a plant right there. Iowa loses 80 to 90% of its hognose snakes for the whole state.
But it gains jobs.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that continues to be the art. It's all about economic development, and we're wiping out everything that's there. So I hope you share this with your kids. Share this, that, you know, that it made an incredible impact. Because I didn't get to tell them this the next day, as busy as, you know, things were.
Oh, yeah, we were running around.
But that conversation, I mean, that really, it was, holy crap. We both kind of walked away from it just, you know, with our jaws down as we came to that realization during that talk. So that was great. As the auction went, you know, want to move into that now. You know, we had, as we said, over 100 auction items, and we're going to tell you some kind of, you know, highlights, but here's the big one. Nearly $20,000 raised to go to the conservation fund. And that's incredible.
I actually think we broke 20 legitimately, not to say, make it sound like we're lying. Yeah. But at the end of the night, like, we were at 18,900 something. And then there was another large amount of money that was going to be like deposited the next day. Yeah. But the thing was, and we're going to talk about the auction, but I want, if you were, a lot of vendors at the end of the day, they came up to me and were like, hey, here's $100. Here's $200. Here, they could have taken that home. They had their own expenses, but it was just like, we get it. Here's the vision. Want to contribute. And that, I'm not going to lie. By that point in time, I was emotionally spent. I was physically spent. I was mentally spent. I don't remember who the hell gave me the last $100, but I got misty. And I was like, Jesus Christ, asshole, you cannot cry. Like, you can't, like,
it's so
hold
awesome.
This together, because in a matter of like 20 minutes, we made another $500. I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So, but back to the auction.
So the auction, I mean, you know, we had there was some fun stuff that happened in this auction too. So like the quote of the night, and this made the Facebook,
it was great.
Facebook post.
T-shirt worthy.
So this is going to be one of the pain points. We'll go ahead and get out of the way. We told you that they screwed up the catering. Well, they screwed up the bar with the catering. Yes. So we had no bar for the auction, which sucks because you kind of want people a little lubricated.
Yes.
You know what I mean for this? You know, it makes everything a little more fun. Everybody gets a little more loose with their wallets. You know, they don't creak when they open, kind of thing. Yeah. But so we had no bar. So what we did was, I would auction off a bottle of booze. Mickey would jump real quick. Like, you know, it'd go $20, $30. Mickey's like $100. And everybody's kind of like, okay, you can have your booze then, Mickey. Yeah. Well, he'd win it, and he'd instantly tell his team, crack it open, give a shot to everybody who wants it. Drink it up. And I mean, again, Mickey's coming through where we're not allowed to bring alcohol in there and do this. But Mickey's like, have at it. Well, then every now and then you would see some people from the venue start to walk in and watch us. And they all wore,
up above
us. Yep. And they all wore these red coats. And there were times I wouldn't see them because I'm so focused in on the next thing I have to grab and getting it to somebody to walk around, whatever. And I'm like, I tried to mix up things, you know, so I don't do a bunch of animals in a row, a bunch of booze in a row, and so I'm like, okay, we need to do another bottle. I'd grab a bottle and I'd turn around and Mickey would give me kind of a, you know, just look at me and shake his head just slightly. And at one point he leans into the microphone and he goes, not yet, Clint. The redcoats are coming. The redcoats are coming. And the whole room lost it because everybody caught on at that point what's happening. It was great. And, but, you know, as soon as they'd leave the room, I'm like, Grey Goose, you know, let's do that. So that was fun. And I'll tell you, do you want to thank one of the donors that really knocked it home for us? And everybody's great. Everyone who did great. And one fantastic. But I think everybody who was there knows that there was one that was really supporting us that night.
Personally thank Melissa Fujimoto, and I hope I said your name correctly. But Melissa, newcomer to Colubridfest, she bought well over a couple $1,000s worth of stuff in the auction. One of the things is Chris Montross brought an original version of Ruthven's first treatise taxonomically on the garter snakes North America from like 1908 or something like that. And this is one of Montross's like cherished possessions. So I also want to give mad props to Chris.
Absolutely.
For seeing he got it and he was like, I want to put this in the auction. And another thing, the books went high in the auction, which just made my nerd ass go pit. Like my heart was just pitter pattering like you wouldn't believe. So anyway, the whole day before, Chris is like, you got to get this book. Like, I really want you to bet on this book. I was like, I'm going to bet on the book, dude. And so I think Mickey started it at $400. And this is just one of the examples. And so it was like 400, 600, 650, 700. And I'm putting my hand up and it gets going higher and higher and higher and higher. And I was like, oh my God. Kathy's me.
I'm over here thinking, oh, he's going to get in trouble.
Yeah. And it got up to 900, and I was like, I put my hand up, and then Melissa swoops in, and I don't know what the hell it was at. It was close to 1,000. The reason why I don't know is I was like on the verge of passing out from what I was doing, but it went for around $1,000, and so and Melissa got it, and she had every right to get it, and it was amazing that she got it, and this was like the second item that had gone that high, and I actually have it right here. So here is the book. I'm afraid to take it out of this bag. It also has a freaking letter in it from Ruthven. And if you don't know who Ruthven is for you, Louisiana pine snakes are Pichophis ruthveni. They're named after it. Like, this is a big pillar of early North American herpetoculture. And so, to be brutally honest, I was so relieved. I was so like, oh, thank God, I'm not going to die. And I was a little bummed. And at the end of the auction, I went up to thank Melissa for, the money, because she gave a considerable amount of money in the auction towards the students and everything. And then, as you can see, she was like, here, and she just handed it to me. I mean, how freaking awesome is that? So
yeah, that's amazing. She was a sweet, sweet lady. I'm so glad
wonderful.
We got to meet her. Even taking all the auction stuff out of this, she just was so nice to talk to. And you could tell she was having such a good time. And that just made us feel that. I know she bought several. She won the final auction item that I know a lot of people were waiting for, and that was it looked about a 2-year-old, I believe, Prasinum, greenbush rat snake, and she had a sibling to it because Kayla had produced it, and thank you to the individual who donated it as well. And she won that, and I know she picked up a lot. I know she picked up an Aurora house snake the next day, and several other things. So she got some nice stuff. So thank you again, Melissa. There's the next one I want to thank too, Matt Wayne.
Yes.
From Not Another Reptile Podcast.
Oh, Matt.
So Matt, this was such a cool, I can't remember what the auction item was, but whatever it was, Matt Wayne bid on it. And I think it was another big jump bid, where it was kind of telling the other person, I'm going to take this, and I'm pretty sure it was $500 is what it went for. And as soon as he won it, Matt said, I can't take it with me, put it back on the auction, and went over and paid us $500. So I just thought, moves like that, it's so great, it's so awesome. So thank you so much, Matt. You're such a good dude. And then my favorite auction item. So we have no idea where this came from.
None.
But someone put a framed picture of Zac on the auction table, and no one has fessed up to who
where it came from.
No.
Confession, I was slightly freaked out.
And it looks like it's just a picture of Zac. What do you have in your hand in that
I'm
picture?
holding the bull snake that I won in last year's auction.
Okay, so he's holding this bull snake, and he's got this smile on his face. It's this nice picture, but it looks, and I'm telling you this because the picture legitimately looks like this is what it was, because Josh Alder, he's there with his wife, and as they're looking at everything, his wife goes, "Did he pass away?" Because it looked like this little in memory of Zac, and Josh like, no, he's standing right there. Because if he had passed away, this would be a very different event.
Yeah.
But when we were about to auction it off, I think it was it Whitman, Zac
Dr.
Whitman's
Whitman,
idea?
man.
Yeah, Dr. Whitman had
Was.
this idea he told me about, and I'm like, oh, I love it. So what we did was I said, all right, this next item comes with a caveat. The caveat is first, if you win this item, you have to return to Colubridfest next year.
Yep.
And when you do, you have to bring a new picture framed of this picture in your home, however you want it.
Yes.
You can be it however you want to pose this in yours. And, we knew this was going to be a fun one. And sure enough, Josh Alder ended up bidding $1,000 on that picture and won it. And he's already told me a few ideas he's got that he wants to take with it.
Thank
so I'm
you,
like,
Josh.
yes, absolutely, Josh.
The
That was
West Liberty
fantastic.
crew and I were standing there in complete and total shock that a photograph of me went for that much money.
It was great, man.
One of the kids came up to me and was like, "He just paid a full month's rent for a picture of you." I was like, "Yeah." So anyway,
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
Really cool. So yeah, the auction was a blast. I had fun. The only potential issue with the auction is there was just so much stuff that it got to a point where we had to get out of there at 11. They were making the presence known that we needed to be out of there at 11, but somehow I don't know how we wrapped that. Like the last thing went at quarter till, and 100+ people were out of that room by 11. It was pretty freaking slick. So
now I'll tell you, again, as we said, as awesome as the day was, there were pain points. There were things that, we needed to address. As Zac mentioned, that room felt less intimate because of how large it was. We needed more mics.
Yep.
To be able to help the question piece of the talk move a little more fluid instead of having to run from one side of the room to the other. One of the things we felt too is because we knew we were going to be on a time crunch. The awards felt more rushed than what Zac and I would have liked.
Yeah, we didn't like that.
Yeah, and so we've got a great idea for that for next year. There's no bar for the auction. That's a problem. That's a pain point. So that's definitely going to happen. It did run late into the night. As Zac said, it was about 11:15. And so, that's something that we want to be cognizant of. Another thing for Saturday was, although it wasn't Indianapolis $30 parking, it was only $8. Anytime you left the lot, you had to pay $8 to get back in. And that was a problem. There were vendor passes, parking passes, but there weren't, for the VIPs, and that was an issue. So again, something that I'm pretty sure that we've gotten addressed now.
Rectified.
But, yep.
Yeah. And I want to say before we move on to the show, massive, heartfelt thank you. That is a lot of money. And I can make $1 into 10. I've been doing it my whole life. And so we're going to take, and the money went to our conservation corps this go round. So we already have it. It's where it needs to be. It's where we can make our purchases. So I'll be doing updates from the field, maybe more than I did last year. I might even make that part of the graduate students gig. It's like, if you're funded with this, every 2 weeks you have to write a post and I'll put it up on the Colubridfest page, but it meant a lot. And the best thing was the legitimate buy-in. People saw the mission, people understood it, and they really, really cared. And that means a lot to me and to us. So thanks.
And we need to say it's honestly, while we raised $20,000, you almost have to look at it as that was $40,000 of gift, because people put $20,000 of their money out for us to put in this fund. But before those people did that, people gave us $20,000 worth of their stuff and their animals to put into this auction in the first place. So it's everybody who contributed, bid, won, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let's move
All right,
on
so then we
to
go into Sunday. Yeah. So we come in early, come in the morning. Everybody's itching to get their animals on the table at this point and get them shown and get them out there. We get in, and I can tell you, this was hands down the most, when just talking about snakes, if we eliminate all lizards and all that, just talking about snakes, I've never seen such diversity in one room.
No, I thought last year was great, and this crushed.
Yes.
obliterated last year.
Yes. I mean, it was
very, very dangerous.
Yes, it was. It was like we were starting to see these different shows that we've now been to combining because
It
as
was
we
Pomona and Tinley.
yes,
in
and
one
then the
room.
regionals all at the
Yeah.
same time. It's you had all of this, and that was just incredible. I mean, from the different you had all the Getchley, you had every corn mutation you could think of out there, all the hog mutations you could think of out there, all the dry marking, all the pitch you oh yes, I mean
that was deadly.
And you don't see that kind of stuff in the Midwest that often, for sure. All the black rat mutations. You had all the Hondurans over there, next to us with Kayla. You had Josh Alder, who always brings such an incredible spread and array. I mean, it was really, really cool. And I mean, what I loved is there were so many vendors there that I hadn't met before, and getting to see what they're bringing, and and meeting new people. It's we talked about John Michaels, coming in all the dry marking, but he was over there with Jerry Hartley.
Yeah.
And that was Jerry was a great guy to chat with, and he was really cool.
Great gopher snake from him.
That was awesome. Jay Jacoby had come over and introduced himself, on Friday when setting up. Got to briefly chat with him on Saturday, but then got to go look at his table and chat with him a little bit more. Then another strong Pituophis guy.
I got a pine snake from him.
Love it. Jason Nelson out there, we're rattling off a bunch of these pit guys, and we're pointing them out simply because I think we're not used to seeing, so much Pituophis ever in a room. I picked up several from Jason, and, that was great. And then it was like getting to, you've got April and Warren, out there with these house snakes that, I mean, just holy crap, it's amazing to see this, in the files. But
egg snakes on April's table.
Yeah.
Those were crazy.
Had what we met Brandon and Ariel Adams. Brandon's got a very strong TikTok following. Some of you may know him. They were great. And so again, so many new people.
And then the old guard from last year was also present with the Westmorelands.
Oh, absolutely.
Zirkles.
Yep. Scott Hitchcock, my buddy Kyle out of the Indy area. And on and on and on.
Christian
We're going to
Diedrich
forget.
And
Yes. Christian Jacques.
Christian Jacques.
Sorry.
Yeah, she won our last episode was with her. Stygian Exotics. She brought Aurora house snakes, and she said that she sold 3 of them within 10 minutes of the show opening.
Yeah, all 3 of my Persinum were gone like that. And there's going to be tons that we're forgetting to mention at the moment. It's just there were so many of you that it was great. I mean, it really was great to have all these conversations and see such diversity out there. So that was definitely a big one. And the next big win, on the show day were the conversations, because while we were having colubrid conversations and reptile conversations through Friday and Saturday, we were pretty strict on the keep your tables covered up. And so now you're getting to talk about the animals in front of you.
Yeah.
And those conversations were going deep, and they weren't do these eat crickets? It was hardcore about what lineage. And like, I picked up some Alterna from Lassiter that this locality's never been offered before. And, so that was just super exciting for me. And, just getting to learn stuff like that about what's on the table, and asking, I think it was Jared Greer, who runs the Lexington, Kentucky Reptile Expo. And, I love Jared to death. He's so good at what he does. And he's because he runs the Lexington Comic-Con. He's a very, very smart man. And he's fun. We cut up every time we're together, but he comes over and he asks me a question about these Pituophis that he has. And I'm like, man, you are in the room to ask, because if there's anybody that's going to know it, they're going to be right there, it's just go over there. So, that was really fun. And this is where, we'll get into some of the market piece, from, the observations I had. So show attendance. Now, here's where those who were there are going to think I'm wrong, but we've got the counts because
Yeah,
show attendance felt very, very light, right?
yes.
And when we were talking about
Well,
this,
can I speak to that real quick?
yeah.
I felt like it did not feel light at first.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it felt identical to Indy last year up until about 11:30 noonish.
And then it did
Because
taper.
I broke away to talk to Kathy, and she said like, "How's the show going?" And I explicitly said to her, "It's going well. It's just like it was last year." Like, so I don't know. I just felt like the first half, I didn't really feel like it was that different. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yep, you're right, and I'll be able to explain some of that, in just a bit. But the overall, the show attendance, while I think some vendors are going to feel that I'm incorrect in this. Here's the actual data: there were 3 times as many VIP sold than last year. So we all I think it's undeniable that Saturday you just look in that room and you can tell, there's 3 times the amount of people in this room than there were last year, obviously. And then going into Sunday, the actual ticket sales, when you combine last year's ticket sales for Sunday and VIP passes, there were more this year all in than there were last year. And I started to, and then it's okay. Before I move into why that may not felt the same way, as far as sales, because last year every vendor cleaned house. There may just been a couple that may not have. This year you had the mix, as you would normally have at a show, where you had some vendors who crushed it. You had some vendors who did well, some that did good, some that did okay, some that didn't have a great show. Right? This time you did have the mix, and I think that there were some of us that walked in expecting it, because the change from last year to this year, even with some more people through the door, although it wasn't a massive increase. And again, we moved from Indianapolis to Fort Wayne. There was that little bit of a shift. There were more vendors this time with a broader selection than even last time. And last time already had a broad selection. And while everyone knows I don't like to consider any of us competition, there were more options this time. Even Rob Zirkle said, last year it was shooting fish in the barrel. This year we knew that there were going to be others who had the same thing on their table that we do, and had options. But the Zirkle still did well. They're like, we're happy, we're good, and I want to point that now. I did notice some of the animals that weren't moving as much. And I'm going to point them out for a specific reason, because those vendors, I want you to hear me on this, because we already have a plan for you. We already have a plan to help make that even better for you next year. The animals that seem to not be selling as often this year were in no way am I saying low end, but were more common in the trade. So things like corn snakes, the lower priced morphs of like hognose, cow kings, lower end milks, things like that, things that you typically would see it, more readily at other shows. Those didn't move quite as quickly as Persinums, Crebos, the Pitiophis that you don't see in the Midwest, the stuff like that. That stuff was moving very quickly.
John Michaels sold like 9 Crebos.
yeah. And several indigos on top of that.
Yeah, he didn't bring Easterns. Those were all the ones that you could just walk away with.
Side note, I'll tell you a story about his animals. So John sent all of his animals home with me to ship back to him. You can imagine the cost of what's in this freaking box, right? So, he tells me, the ice packs he wants, all that. No problem. I ship thousands of freaking packages a year. No worries. So I've got his box and I've got Kayla's box. And I'm shipping them out on Monday. So I pack, all the ice packs in. Somebody pulls me away with a question. Have it somebody, just close that box up for me. Close the box up. I come back, tape it up. We're good. Drop everything off at FedEx. Yada, yada. As I walk in this morning, I think, crap, I didn't message them yesterday to let them know I dropped them off, like I said I was going to. And as I walk in, I sit down at my desk, I can see out my door. There is a styrofoam lid sitting right where I packaged all those animals. And I thought, oh no.
God.
And I'm like, oh,
I don't
dear.
like that.
So I'm like, okay, one of them had black styrofoam. One of them had white styrofoam. I don't remember which one was which. This is a white styrofoam. So I'd already messaged John because I'm like, crap, I forgot to tell you, I was doing it. Well, then I messaged Kayla and I'm like, what color was your styrofoam? And she goes, black. Why? I'm like, crap. I'm like, not that I wanted it to be Kayla's animals, but I told her, I go, I've shipped for you back and forth several times. I'm not an idiot. This is the first time I'm sending John's animals back to him. And I didn't put the lid in the damn box. He's going to think I'm just, what a dumbass, right? So, but I messaged him and I let him know what happened, all this. They've arrived. Everything's fine. Everything's good. But it was just like, really, Clint? Of all the shipments that you don't put the lid in the box. Wow. So, but anyways, moving on.
That makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Only made me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So pain points, as we said, some vendors didn't have the best day. And I fully believe that the reason that the vendors who didn't have a good day is because there wasn't a significant increase in the general population turnout on Sunday. So from the locals, okay? Because we had again, we brought more people in. There were higher numbers, but the more it was increased on the people who had specifics they were after, or, they wanted a certain...
I'm a perfect example of that buyer. I went in and I wanted pitch office. I knew I was not going to have pitch office this much diversity at my fingertips again without flying to California. I saved for like a couple months. I sold some extra crap and I went in there ready to buy, and I had a list and I got everything I wanted off the list. And I don't do that when I go to reptile shows normally. Like, I'll buy a target of opportunity. The last thing I actually bought at a reptile show were the damn beaded lizards. And if you think about it, that's another niche purchase.
Yeah.
So I just think that the clientele here is just a little bit different this year. But I do think that, like, when we talk about it, we may have a fix.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And I want to reiterate, something to make sure there's no confusion in what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, if you were a vendor that didn't have the best day, that your snakes weren't cool enough. No. Not at all. I am not saying that. No. I'm saying I'm reading what the market in that room was telling me. And what it was telling me is there wasn't enough general population in there that would warrant the animals that we would see on a more regular basis, including several on my table. So again, the stuff that did sell on my table were the more obscure. I mean, literally the first 3 things sold were 3 Prasinum, green bush rats. All 3 of those gone, within the first 10 minutes. So trust me, when I'm saying this, it was me reading my own table as well on what happened and what didn't happen. So we talked before about, and I'm not going to fully tell you how we're going to fix this until we get to the Sunday fixes, but we talked before about how nice it is that they don't come and ask the dumb questions that we like to say no questions dumb, but there's some that start getting to us, right? And they, instead of them asking, does that eat a cricket? They're asking what lineage, this is. But we also have to remember what we said our goals were. Our goals were to grow our community and unite our community. And with that being said, we do have to increase the number of new reptile keepers, first-time reptile keepers, and even those what we would call intermediate level reptile keepers, because we still have a bunch of advanced that are coming. We have some still, younger and newer individuals in, but I think everybody's probably understanding what I'm getting at here. So, so we kind of want to go into the changes. And, you know, how do we want to do this? Do you want to?
I think that we just basically throw them out there day by day by day.
All right. Well, first, how about some general things that they don't necessarily have a day?
Sure. So advertisement.
Well, that's going to be that does affect Sunday. So I'm going to keep that on the Sunday. But let's talk like the talks. When are the talks going to be ready?
So this year, I would like to have the speakers nailed down and the topics nailed down by the end of the year, so that we're going into the new year with the schedule already made
and posted.
And posted. Sorry about that. And so a lot of you reached out during the show. I asked everyone the question. I asked every single person: if you were here last year, you're here. Which one was better? You know, and the common theme to the talks that everybody seemed to feel the talks were better. Not that they were better this year, not to discredit the speakers from last year. The thing that people liked about this year was that theme, that there were themes and a continuity to the talks. So I've already talked to a lot of people. I'm not going to say what the talks are yet. I think it should be a surprise. But there's 2 talks already I know we're doing. And they're husbandry-based talks because I heard them from about 10 different people. But if you are listening to this now and you went or you plan on coming, give me topic ideas. We're looking for husbandry ideas. We're looking for the kind of science plus husbandry ideas. And then we're looking for the market/culture ideas. So let her rip. Message me on social media. I've already gotten a really nice email. We both did from Kevin Pollock. Thank you for that, bud. There was a guy, didn't catch his name. He took notes. I got pictures from his notebook in my phone of topic ideas and ways to improve and things not to change. That's another thing, guys. I tell my students this all the time when I'm getting a course evaluation. There will be parts of that we focus on. What do we change? What do we change? What do we change? We also need to know from you, like, this isn't broken. Don't fix it. Do not change this. So give us that feedback too.
Yep. We have Mickey. So one thing I want everyone to know, we were already on the phone having conversations on the ride home.
Yeah.
So you all know how dedicated we are to continuing to do this and do it better. We're already having conversations while driving home on what needs to stay, what needs to change, what do we need to be thinking about. And then the 3 of us have already had a sit down meeting because it's, let's get this planned now, and then put it to bed. Yep. So, Mickey and his team, they will be creating an official Colubridfest Facebook page. Zach and I will also be administrators on it.
Instagram page.
Both, because we have the Facebook is a group, not a Facebook page. So it'll be an official Colubridfest Facebook page, not just the group, and Instagram. They will also be updating the Colubridfest page on the Show Me site because right now it answers questions as if it was the show. And there needs to be much more detail about Colubridfest, the breakdown of days, everything. And that is going to be completely revamped as well.
Totally revamped.
Yes. So all of that's taking place.
When the questions are coming next year, we simply say, go to this website.
Yes. Here's your link. Here's your link.
Yep. And there you go.
I'll end up getting different pieces for the Indiana laws that, will have hyperlinked and all that on there. So that's taking place. Those are some generals. Now let's move into day-by-day changes. Okay. So Friday.
This is a big one.
And this is, I want to hear some feedback on it. Okay. Yep. I want you guys, this is me proving that I'm willing to bend, but I do not break. Yeah. But I'm willing to bend because this was something that's mentioned. Understand, I am adamant. We are all adamant.
We are adamant
that Saturday does not change in the terms of there are no sales and animals are not displayed. That will not change.
Not changing.
However, on Friday, we're now considering from 6 to 8 p.m., vendors and VIPs have a buying window where animals can be displayed and sales can take place from 6 to 8 p.m. on Friday. Now, I am thinking, we're considering this because It has been something requested from vendors, and we want to make sure that we give you what you want, as long as it's not taking away from what our true goals are, from the event. And it also, what I like about this is it's going to encourage more vendors and more VIPs to get in early enough Friday to be a part of the mixer, to be there for the first talk on Saturday. Because I'm telling you, that Friday, that camaraderie that came out of that room, it continues to really set the tone and the pace for the rest of the weekend.
And what will be replaced is there won't be talks, because there's no way we can do talks and the show. And we're not going to, I don't think we want to do talks and the show, because we don't want competing interests. Every time anyone has ever tried to do talks and a show, it never seems to work well. And I don't want to have a speaker, including myself, put together a great big PowerPoint and have 8 people in the room, and then have 100 people over at the show. So the sacrifice here is, if we do the show, which it seems like the majority of people that were talking about a change for Friday seem to want, what we give up is the talk. So, it is, there's an element of compromise herein. And then I want to say it ends at 8. It doesn't creep and go to 8:30 and then 9 and the sale. No, because we're not about, sales are a part, not the whole. And that social is, in our opinion, as important, if not more, than the sales on Friday.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, because that's the whole building the community culture piece.
Yep.
So there's that.
Concessions will be open on Friday, so you are able to eat and drink and stay, merry. The mixer is not going to be held at the venue.
Nope.
We want it back at the hotel. Yes. So that is the plan.
A handful of people said, because I asked, is the hotel too far away? Some people said hotel's too far away. Some people said hotel's not too far away. I just want to say one thing. We are not going to find a hotel that's going to let us have snakes in it and embrace us the way that this hotel did. And I feel that is worthy of a little bit of allegiance. So, I mean, the last Colubridfest, if they caught you with animals, they charge you $75 animal handling fee. These guys, I saw people in the morning pulling their snakes to the show, and there were beauty snakes in clear opaque tubs. And the lady that was checking us out was like, "Oh my God, those are cool." Because I actually butt puckered and was like, "Oh God, she can see the it was like, wow, that's cool." Like, they didn't give a crap. That to me, I'm sorry, it is a little bit of a drive. It's a little bit of a drive.
It's like 15 minutes,
you
20
can wake
at most.
Up with your coffee on the way in. I mean, that's literally what I did. So
I mean, so it's not that big of a deal, and like, to your point, I mean, for them, and it's a good price, and it's a good hotel. You don't have to worry about being shot. You know what I mean? So,
we should talk about parking. Actually,
absolutely. That's actually the very next thing I think we have is we've got parking passes will be provided to all vendors and VIPs upon check-in.
Yep.
So you can come and go as you need to without having to pay multiple times. We've already got that in the works.
Done deal.
So I think that'll take care of Friday. Now let's move into Saturday.
Oh wait, so awards are going to start in June. I think we said that a couple times, but I want to make sure.
No, I don't think we did say that, did we? No. Yeah, the award process is going to begin in June. So we're going to have longer voting windows for nominations, and then the longer voting window for the actual choosing the actual winners. So we're going to make sure that we're going to have different methods of getting that information out, so that it's not just Facebook, that people are hearing about it. So we want to get more people involved, this next year in the award process. Thanks, Zach. I don't know how I missed that.
Yeah, no problem.
So Saturday, you want to talk about what we're doing for the talks?
Yeah. So Saturday, the talks are going to be based off of what you all, want. The other thing is the talks are going to be in a different room.
separate from the show.
Yeah, separate from the show. We was his name Aaron, the Caleb's dad.
Aaron Meagle. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Love that guy.
Super nice.
He came up to me during the talks and was like, I don't know if this is the best room to do the talks. And I was like, I agree with you. And he did it in a very, nice, non-confrontational way, like, and then he just kind of took it upon himself to find another room, which I think is great. He just walked up to a red coat and was like, hey, is there another smaller room in here? And the guy like walked him around. Like, you normally kind of have to pay for that crap. But anyway, and we found a room. We don't know if we can get it, but we know that there are multiple rooms like it where when I walked in, now granted, I have a loud voice, but even in that venue, I needed a mic, and I was talking at my normal loud voice and it was echoing in the room. So the acoustics in this room, this also will nullify that. We are going to absolutely make sure we have minimum of 3, possibly 4 wireless mics. And we are going to make sure that the acoustics are louder, which I think will automatically be fixed if we simply get into a smaller room. A couple people mentioned the screen being washed out. I also felt that way, even though I bought a brand new projector for this thing. 2 of the rooms that I saw had dimmable lights. So we can literally just get that kind of cozy feel we had in Indianapolis, which we liked a little better for the actual giving of the talks. We're pretty positive we can get that vibe back in there and fix the acoustics and fix the optics. So we know that we can fix it, and we're going to.
Yeah,
and
I think that's going to be perfect.
And then I think I'll let you talk about the evening.
As far as Saturday, so one change that we're going to do, and this is part of the talks. This one here, we have decided, and we always tell you we thank all of our sponsors. We thank the Patreon subscribers, and we say that you allow us to do things we never thought we'd be able to do. Well, here's one of them.
This is cool.
So what Zac and I have decided is that this year, the next Colubridfest, we are going to put out. We're working through the logistics of this and how we're going to do it. But whether it's going to be an essay or what, we are going to. We want to have a junior Colubrid keeper presentation.
Yep.
And we're going to decide what the age range needs to be. We want to have these kids send us their essays, their presentations, whatever, and we are going to choose the winner. And we'll kind of narrow down how we want to do that. We literally just came up with this today, but we're both pretty excited about it because we're getting to do something good with the podcast, basically.
Yeah.
So the winner of the essay, they get to come to Colubridfest. They get to give their presentation at Colubridfest, and CCR is going to cover all of their travel and lodging for Colubridfest. We're going to pay to get them there. We're going to pay to keep them there. We're going to cover it. And on top of that, there is going to be a scholarship piece that comes with that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But that's the plan for next year. And, it's another thing that CCR gets to do.
This is, to full transparency, inspired by IHS. So we can give them some cred.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, we get this Patreon money, and we thought that this would definitely be something that would be a way to kind of pay it forward a little bit. Yep. And it's a good way to get kids brought into the fold. And there were definitely some kids there. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute. So,
yeah. And this is probably a good time to remind everyone that didn't get to go to Colubridfest that shortly that each talk from this year's Colubridfest will be on the Colubrid and Colubroid Radio Patreon. And you'll either be able to join our Patreon. I think you have to be at least a $10 member or above, and then you have access to all of the talks, including last year's talks and every one of our shorts, which we tell all the time. We are, and I mean, they really are some of our best pieces. So, but you can do that, or you can pay a few bucks per talk that you want to see. Max will be working on those, and probably within, I'd say, probably the next week, but let's give him a few weeks, to get each one, make sure it's edited, ready, and gets that loaded.
So can I talk about the kind of train wreck of timing in the evening and how we think we're going to fix that?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, let me hit two things and then you run away with that. Okay. One, another change with the awards this coming year, the award winners will not be announced until Colubridfest.
Yes.
So if you're a nominee, you're not going to know that you won until you get there. And we think
if
that's
you're wondering, we are going to ask all the nominees if you are planning on attending, and if you were to win and you don't plan on attending, that would be the only reason why we would reach out to you
beforehand
to get the recordings, because I did think it was important that people give a speech if they weren't going to be present.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
The other, and this came from two individuals. I think the first was I keep saying Josh Alder's wife. Forgive me. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. But she had come up and mentioned a half pot, and we're like, I don't know why we're not doing that. It's a brilliant idea. Now, typically, to our understanding, and we're going to ensure that we're correct in this, you can't do a half pot drawing legally without a permit unless you are a nonprofit organization. Which
who has one of those?
Exactly. So as long as it holds true, we'll have a half pot drawing as well. With, of course, the half that the winner doesn't get to take will go to the conservation fund too. Yep. So, okay. So do you want to kind of toss out there the idea and what we're working on that fixes the timing?
Yeah. So before we get to that, there will be a bar. We are going to make sure there's a bar. There's no way that we're not going to make sure there's a bar. There will be a bar for next year. So the obvious it's just a train wreck of timing is that the talks end at 6, and then we got to let you go out and do an auction, get dinner. So that's from 6 to 8, and then we started the awards at 8, which then went till about 8:30, and we're not getting this auction ripping until 8:30. And then we went all the way to 11, basically. Mm-hmm. And we were trying to figure out how do we get it like half an hour back? Because, one way to do that is just get rid of a talk. But there's people coming for the talks. We don't want to get rid of a talk. And we kind of figured out today in our meeting that we had, if we just give people dinner at the venue, we could, in theory, do the awards during dinner and actually make it more of a awards dinner. Mm-hmm. And so we are going to look into doing that, and we're pretty positive that Mickey has figured out a way that this could potentially be done. And so this next year, it will basically be, we get done with the talks at 6, mill around, talk, for like a half an hour, 40 minutes, and then we'll get going with dinner before 7, probably 20 till 7 to 7. I don't know. And then dinner served. And then around 7:20, we would then start with the awards banquet. And then that actually makes it an awards banquet. And it gives us more time because we also want to next go around with the awards ceremony that we do actually have a little bit more oomph behind it because we don't want to be rushed. Yeah. And not that we were rushed, but we were kind of rushed. Let's just be real. There wasn't enough time. And that was a pinch point. And we really care about these awards. They're important to us. And and then that way, you don't have to worry about dinner because it would be included with your ticket. You don't have to leave and come back, and we just get to hang longer, and it gives you more networking / talking time, getting to know each other time. And that way we can make it so you just come in on Saturday, you leave for lunch, and then you're there through, and it eliminates a bit of the expense, and it eliminates a bit of the just driving around and all that jazz. So,
and let's remind everyone, because if we do implement that dinner, guess who's paying for that?
Yes, not
Mickey.
You,
right? Mickey. So again, we need to thank that man for all that he's doing to ensure that this continues to grow and be what it is and is growing into. So,
Okay.
Do you want to mention the auction piece, the other one piece,
Yeah.
or do you want me to do it?
So, you can go ahead and do it.
You sure?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm good.
So we mentioned that we are going to have the junior presentation, and CCR is going to cover all the lodging and travel. Well, during the auction, we're going to have a set number of pieces from the auction that are going to be set to the side, and individuals can even request that their items go specifically for this area of the auction if they choose. That piece will go straight into a scholarship fund for the individual that won and came for that kid that won and does the presentation that year. And it's something we want to continue to do every year going forward. So every year CCR is going to pay to get them there, and hopefully the community helps to pay for their further education. And I think that's just wonderful. It makes me feel so good. Yeah.
We can the Iowa project can certainly give up $1,000 or $1,500 to go towards that. And what I really like about this is, I sit on scholarship boards. I never got a freaking scholarship when I was in high school. My grades were okay, but yet I could rattle off the Latin name of every damn snake that you put in front of me, every tree, bush. I was passion driven, and a lot of times. My wife's a high school teacher, and she'll literally call them the scholarship chasers. There's kids that, nothing against them, but it's almost like a game to see how many they can get. And I just like the idea of giving a solid snake nerd a bit of cash to go towards some element of their future academic life. So there you go. That's pretty cool. Okay, I think we're done with Saturday.
Yeah, and so
now
Sunday.
Let's move on to the show.
Yes.
So we know that for some of you, there were suggestions. One suggestion, I think we need to address this head on, is get it out of Fort Wayne. We're not doing that after thinking about things. We've got too good of a thing with this hotel. After walking around the venue, we've got the venue. The big issue in Indy was it's too expensive. We want it to be affordable. Fort Wayne is affordable. Fort Wayne's got an airport. I asked a lot of people that flew into Fort Wayne, like, what was your ticket price? Sometimes flying into regionals, it's super expensive. And the general consensus I got from the people that flew was it really wasn't that much more expensive than flying into Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay. And to be honest with you, I fly to BFE all the time because the places that I fly to, no one wants to go to. I will take a small regional airport over a large hub 100 times out of 100. It's just easier to deal with in all ways. So when I found that wasn't that much more expensive, there's that. But we do have this piece of the background ambient population is what feeds the show beyond our VIP people. And so we've got a couple ways to elevate that presence. And I'm going to now shut up and hand it off to our resident market expert to talk about our evil plans.
So there's a couple things that I think. One, let me say this: Fort Wayne. You think we need to move it to a different area, a bigger city. Fort Wayne is the second largest city in Indiana. Indianapolis is the only one that's bigger. Evansville's the third. I do very well in Evansville. I do very well in Indianapolis. I did very well in Fort Wayne. It's that the area is not the problem. There was something that we had going against us this particular year. And this could not be changed. It was no one's fault. There was a reptile show right there in that arena 3 weeks earlier. And as we know, when you have them that quick, you usually don't have a quick turnaround from the population. Now, why was there a reptile show 3 weeks before, and why didn't we do anything about it? One, because it was a show me show, and it was already booked there before Colubridfest was booked there. Well, then why didn't you do Colubridfest on a different date? We couldn't. I mean, that was when we decided to get it to Fort Wayne. That was the dates we had available that were within our window of opportunity. That was it. Now, next year, we are on the last weekend of September. There's 6 weeks in between that show and this one. To me, that's perfect for what we're doing. Normally, I do not like monthly shows. And even 6 weeks, I'm like, yeah, it's a little close. However, one of the things we're going to change during that show, that 6 weeks before Colubridfest, there will be Colubridfest flyers completely explaining what Colubridfest is and what makes it so different that are being passed out at that show. So you're getting the general population that's already coming to reptile shows, getting to learn about Colubridfest, right then and there. And there was already local marketing. Don't think that didn't happen. Of course, it happened. But this is another step up and improvement for us to capitalize on local. Now, I want to give, let me back up. So there's those two pieces. One, Fort Wayne is not some small podunk city. Don't think that. It's why that freaking arena is the size that it is. And two, we won't have a show so close, next year. So that's two changes. We are coming at this with and again, I say where we're giving input, Mickey's paying for it. 3 distinct approaches to elevate this. First off, there will be a national campaign that will be starting within the next month. That is Colubridfest, meaning that's how it's completely worded, completely billed, and again described. That's going to go national, and that is going to be what continues to pull the VIPs. That's going to continue to pull the individuals like what we saw there already. And we know what those individuals are looking to shop for on show day. What I like, though, is, again, we want the vendors to be successful on Sunday, but I want the vendors there that are there for Saturday. You know what I mean? That's what I had one vendor who was like, yeah, it's been a little slower for me over here today, but don't think for a second I'm disgruntled. You better believe I'm going to be here next year. And that was serpentine work. She told me that early on. She may have ended up having a great show later. I'm not sure, but I thought that was fantastic. That's the mentality we want. But so you're going to have that national approach, and that's going to continue to see the VIP jump that we've already seen. Next, we are changing something in the regional and local level, and Mickey is the one who pointed this out, and it completely makes sense. I want everyone to stop for a second and think. How many people that are either brand new to reptiles or even those who own a good number do not know what the word colubrid means? How many people out there own a corn snake, king snake, rat snake, but would look at you silly if you told them they had a colubrid? Because they don't know what it means. So Colubridfest doesn't resonate with the general population. Exactly. So that's what this is going to be more billed as. Not, it's still going to be called Colubridfest, and in the details, it's going to explain that this is an event, not just an expo and all that, but it is going to be more catered in the way that it is thrown out there as a reptile event, where you're going to see things that you've never seen before in the 60-mile radius around Fort Wayne. So it's a different approach, and I'm like, that makes complete sense, on helping to elevate the general population. And that's one of the things we want to completely attack to ensure that we're doing more than just bringing in those who are looking for that specialized animal. So that's number 2. Number 3, this piece I don't want to get super specific on, but what I will say is there are friends that have some large pool within not just the industry, we're going to say just within the population, that are friends of our cause and want to assist us in putting more feet through that door, and they have the means and ability to do so. We are going to be leaning into them as well. Those conversations, some of them have already taken place, and they are gung-ho to make this happen. And again, I want to kind of keep that one a little closer to the vest, but I think that for us to already have such a specific and large game plan in place. And we've been home for 2 days.
2 days.
You know?
I'm still sick and tired,
Yes.
but every time I talk about Colubridfest, it's like a freaking jolt of energy hits my
Yeah.
body because this is our passion project, and we know it can be better.
Yep. Yep.
But we're not saying it was bad.
No, not at
We're
gosh,
just
no.
pushing.
I mean,
That's
well,
all.
that was just it. Is, you know, Zac asked me afterwards. He goes, "Hey, so what kind of feedback did you get?" And I said, you know, well, a little bit about the size of this room. You know, the talks. It's, you know, not so much. And he and I had already talked about it because at one point Zac felt, he goes, "Man, I feel like it's, you know, are these? Does it feel flat in here?" And I go, "No, this is exactly what was happening last year. Everything's moving the same. It just doesn't feel as intimate. That's what you're feeling." And he's like, "You know, boom, that's it. That's exactly it." And it's because of the space. So no, the feedback I would get were things like the parking passes, were things like, you know, no one was complaining about anything. Everyone was telling, honestly, I had so many people come up and to say thank you for doing this, when I'm like, you know, it's successful because you're here, not because it's everyone in this building is what's making this successful, you know, not us. But no, everyone had a blast. And I mean, if you go on to the Facebook group right now, you're going to see what everyone has said. You know, it was great. So if you're listening to this and you did not attend, don't think that this was some big gripe session or it was a dead event or nothing like that. This was awesome. It was fantastic. It was even better than year one. And the things we're pointing out and saying we're going to change is every year we're going to be doing this. Every year we're going to be telling you the things that we're going to adjust and make different until you all finally say, "Don't change another freaking thing. It's perfect." You know, then we'll relax. But until then, that's not happening.
Okay. Well, I think we did it.
I think we did.
I just want to do a final thank you to everybody that came. And if you didn't come and you supported with a like of a post, or you said, "I didn't make it this year, I'm bummed, but I'll be there next year," you know, that's showing support too. So we're doing this for you all. And we're doing this because Clint, Mickey and I have a vision of what an event like this should be and how it can foster a positive wave, a ripple effect in our Colubrid community. And if there's anything I can say about Colubridfest is we have a ripple. And I just want the ripple to turn to a wave. And that's how I want to end it. And we're heading that direction.
And I'm going to ask, you know, anybody who's listening to this episode, if you're watching it on YouTube, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about the stuff that we just said. You know, we're going to give this episode at least a week of being on air and being out there before we start talking about it within the Colubridfest group. I may make a post tonight or tomorrow letting everyone know what this episode is, so everybody knows to jump on it, check it out, and kind of what's to come. But you know, again, give us that feedback. Let us know how we're doing, guys. It's important to us.
All righty. So where can they find you at, sir?
You can find anything that we have available at Metazotics.com. Remember, use code CC Radio to save yourself 5% on any purchase. You can email us at metazotics@gmail.com. Find us at Metazotics on Facebook, MetazoticsLLC on Instagram.
Okay. You can find me at Dr. Crawdad on Instagram, Zac Loughman on Facebook. You can also find me, zloughman at westliberty.edu. That's my email for the school. If you're looking into grad school, you just learned how we got our funding. So, holy mother, Alyssa, who many of you now know, she went straight from Colubridfest to Indiana, and we're getting the fall. All the snakes are now moving back to Hibernacula. And she sent me a picture of 6 hognose snakes in one funnel trap that she had today. And she had something to the effect of, like, "I'm having a better day than you are." And I was like, "You are."
That's awesome.
Anyway, but yeah, no, be it morning, afternoon, evening, or night, whatever time of day it is, have a great one. And we want to see you in 2026 at Colubridfest number 3. Have a wonderful day, y'all. Later.